All right. All right. Sorry about that. Wait, Woody. Okay. All right. Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, to class studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Long Meadow. For the second time around, beginning in 2014, this class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe. And if you don't believe me, just come visit. And is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, or Vayishlach Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Okay, so today we are at chapter 4 of Vayishlach. I didn't send them yet. This is 1182. Page 1182. Let me send them right now. Lehrman. Okay, here are the notes. All right. So, are you ready? So again, page 1182. When Yaakov returned to Israel from his uncle in Haran, he was met by his brother Esav. Yaakov prepared to meet Esav. Welcome. Baruch Hashem, wonderful, fantastic. Thank God, couldn't be better. Yaakov prepared to meet Esav by preparing in case he was attacked.
I don't see the notes.
Thank you. I hit the wrong button. The truth, guys, sometime this afternoon, I rested and I forgot, I didn't rest, but I forgot to screw my head all the way in. It's only partially screwed in. Okay. When Yaakov returned to Israel from his uncle in Haran, he was met by his brother Esav. Yaakov prepared to meet Esav in case he was attacked. He prayed, and he sent a gift of hundreds of animals to Esav, I think 530. The word the Torah uses for gift is mincha, which is usually the word that we use to mean a tribute. So Yaakov sent a tribute to Esav, is what the Torah says, mincha. Obviously, mincha is also the word that we have for the afternoon prayer. Okay, over here, we're going to draw some parallels and show what's special about this word and about the afternoon. Now, the very last Mishnah in the entire 6 orders of Mishnah says, the time will come when Hashem will endow each and every righteous person with 310 worlds, as it says, to endow with substance those that love me, and I shall fill their vaults. Word for substance, yesh, has gematria of 310. So you can say that it means to endow those that love me with 310, and I'm going to fill their vaults with it. That is one significance of the word 310. The one that's more well known. Over here, Rabbi Wisniewski speaks about another significance of 310. That is, there are 32 paths of wisdom. Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma. We've had them many times. They are comprised of 22 letters, the Aleph phase, and the 10 spheres. That's 22 plus 10. Corresponding to these 32 paths are 32 times Hashem's name Elokim is mentioned in the first account of creation, first chapter of Bereshis. Now in Eov it says, Nasiv lo yada'o ayit, a path unknown to the vulture. This refers, And he's speaking that about I think an obscure path, obscure place. And that even the vultures haven't gone there. This, and over here he says that this path unknown to the vulture refers to one of the 32 paths that does not convey knowledge. Okay, these are 32 paths of wisdom, but one of them, I guess, has potholes or is under construction. So it leaves us only with 31 paths that convey wisdom. Now, if we have 10 subcategories for each path, we now have 310 worlds. And that's what's special about the number 310. One moment. Okay, Alan, are you ready?
I'm gonna be
Take it away.
giving to Esav in the afternoon. He selected a gift for his brother Esav from among what remained. In this parsha, we are told that Yaakov prepared for his encounter with his wicked brother Esav in 3 ways: by preparing a proprietary gift, preparing for battle, and praying to Hashem for help. I would like to explain what this gift was about, as well as the meaning of a number of verses in this passage of Torah. You are already familiar with what the Zohar says about the 310 worlds that exist between the throne.
Beneath
207 Huh?
beneath the
Beneath
throne.
the throne, yeah. 207 on the right side and 103 on the left. The coupling of Ab and Ima is a union of the 2 primary components of the intellect, Chachma and Bina. In Sefer Yitzriah, we are taught that there are 32 pathways of Chachma. These are generally identified as the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, plus the 10 spheros, and are alluded to in the 32 times that the name of Hashem, Elohim, is mentioned in the account of creation recorded in the first chapter of Bereshis. One of these pathways does not participate in the transfer of intellectual insight from Chachma to Bina. It is alluded to in the verse, the pathway unknown to any vulture. This leaves 31 pathways. When each is subdivided into 10 subcategories corresponding to the 10 spheros, we have 31 times 10, which equals 310 units of transfer from Chachma to Bina. These are the 310 worlds spoken of here.
Okay. Thank you. Number 4.
Hold on a
Zohar
second. Hold on. There's more to that.
The next part explains number 4, explains the next paragraph.
Okay.
The Zohar says, usually I focus on explaining the just what's bold, and
Okay.
that's sufficient. Here, I felt I had to do it.
You broke it up. Okay.
And to explain this as well, a lot of times I don't touch it. The Zohar says there are 310 worlds beneath the heavenly throne. We just had that. 207 on the right and 103 on the left. What this means is the 310 worlds are divided evenly among Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes, which is about 103 for each. Although Tiferes is in the middle, it leans towards Chesed, which gives 206 or 207 for the right and 103 on the left.
Okay.
Usually we say Chesed is kindness, benevolence, Gvura, judgment, and the third, Tiferes, we translate as Rachamim. Rachamim, compassion. So technically it's in the middle. Technically it's a combination of Chesed and Gvura, but we call it Rachamim because it leans, it shifts right. Is that starboard? Who knows? It shifts right. That's right. So that's why there's double on the right. What's on the left? Okay, go ahead.
Once Bina, has internalized and processed the insight of Abba, Chachma, it in turn transfers this new mentality to Zer Anpin and Nukva. In this transfer, the 310 worlds are divided into two categories. Approximately 2/3, 310 divided times 2/3, which is 206 and 2/3, or 207, are manifest as states of Chesed, earmarked for Zer Anpin, while approximately 1/3, 103 1/3, or 103 are manifest as states of Gevura earmarked for Nukva. The reason for this uneven division is that the 310 worlds are divided such that 103 are distributed to Chesed of Zer Anpin, 103 to Gevura of Zer Anpin, and 103 to Tiferes of Zer Anpin. But since Tiferes, while reconciling Chesed with Gevura, favors Chesed, both the portions of Chesed and Tiferes can be considered to be aligned with Chesed. Thus, 206 worlds are on the side of Chesed, 103 on the side of Gevura. And then, since the side of Chesed has taken the majority of these worlds, it takes the remainder world left from the division of the 310 into 3.
103, 206, 309. There's one left. I did hear a few months ago a brilliant thing on these numbers connected with the Beis Hamikdash, not with this. I don't know if Rudy would say it's not an accident. It's, of course, it's connected, but it just I don't remember. I don't remember the whole thing. I don't see any connection. But okay.
The Zer Anpin and Nukva is, of course, Yesod of Ima, which is termed in the Zohar the supernal throne.
Okay, thank you. 5. So we now have 103 paths on the left aligned with Gevura. No, sorry. Before I do this, Jim, go ahead to explain 1182.
To explain, I have already explained to you in the book, Peri Et Chaim, what these 310 worlds are all about, or are about. So you may refer to that explanation, okay? The introduction to the chapter in Peri Et Chaim concerning the afternoon Mincha and the night Mari prayers, as well as the second discourse on the afternoon prayers in Shachar HaKavanot, are almost identical to the passages quoted here.
Okay, thank you. 5. So now we have 103 paths on the left aligned with Gevura. Mincha is davened in the afternoon. Okay, so we're making a leap now. The gift that Yaakov sent to Esav with all the animals was called Mincha.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Mincha is also the afternoon prayer. When the sun is heading for sunset, corresponding to Gevura. The Gemara says, so that's one thing. The time of Mincha is Gevura. 2, the Gemara says the prayer of Mincha was instituted for Yitzchak, who went out to converse in the field before evening. And we say that converse refers to davening. So Yitzchak is the one Yitzchak daven Mincha. We do Mincha because of Yitzchak. And Yitzchak, of course, is Gevura. And then finally, the gematria of Mincha, 40 plus 50 plus 8 plus 5, is 103, which we just said are the 103 paths of wisdom that are on the left. So we have a number of connections here. Go ahead, Jim, with regard.
With regard to those 103 worlds on the left side, their number is the same as the numerical value of the word for gift, mincha, for they are roused after midday, as is known, for it is then that the left side, that of Isaac, is roused. That is why the prayer that Isaac instituted is called mincha. Mincha, 40 plus 50 plus 8 plus 5, 103. The light of the sun is a manifestation of divine chesed. Thus, morning hours, when sunlight is constantly increasing, are seen as a time when divine chesed is ascendant, whereas the afternoon, when daylight begins to succumb to darkness, is seen as a time when divine gevurah is ascendant. Abraham, who personified chesed, instituted the morning prayer chakras, through which we channel God's chesed, which is then ascendant into our lives. Isaac, who personified gevurah, instituted the afternoon prayer mincha, in which we seek to properly channel God's gevurah, which is then ascendant. We do this by acknowledging the role of gevurah in the orderly functioning of creation, giving it the gift of its proper due, thereby limiting its expansion to precisely those areas where it is needed and preventing it from neutralizing the residue of chesed remaining from shachus.
All right. 6. There are 5 Hebrew letters that have final letters. That means different shapes when the letter is used at the end of a word. And these are known as man sapach. Mem nun sadi pe chaf, man sapach. Okay, you'll notice that they aren't in order of alphabet. Chaf would come first, and mem nun, and then pe, and then sadik. I have a book at home that has a whole explanation on the letters, has a whole explanation on this, on these letters too. I think why they're out of order, even. Okay, in any case, these 5 final letters symbolize judgments. The first 2 letters of these 5, mem and nun, are the first 2 letters of mincha, and they kind of contain all the other letters within them. So they, so here we have another idea. No, I'm sorry. So now we're going to look at the word mincha, mem nun ches hey, and we're going to connect it also with gevurah, with judgments. So the letters, so the first 2 letters of mincha, mem and nun, are the first 2 letters of man sapach. Man sapach, the 5 final letters, are gevurah, and so too the mem and nun of mincha are for gevurah. I assume that they are, that we daven mincha, we're sweetening the judgments. That's the purpose of the davening. What? Rudy says it's man. The thing that fell. Good observation. Okay, so go ahead, Jim. I'm going to do this a little louder.
Know as well that all the states of judgment are derived from the final forms of the letters mem, nun, tzadik, pei, and kaf, men, sachach. Thus, the first 2 letters of the word mincha, which is mem and nun, are the first of these 2 final letter forms. As we've seen previously, 5 of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet have special forms that are used when these letters occur at the end of a word. These stop forms are manifestations of gevurah, which stops or otherwise unchecked flow of chesed, preventing it from spilling over into realms where it would be counterproductive. These 5 final forms correspond to the 5 states of gevurah. The first 2 letters of the word mincha, is gift, are mem and nun, the first 2 of these 5 letters that possess final forms. The 5 states of gevurah are chesed, gevurah, tiferet, netzach, hod of gevurah. As we've explained previously, the first 2 of these 5 sifirot, or midot, are the principal ones. The other 3 are either combinations, which is tiferet, or derivatives, netzach and hod, of them.
Okay. So here we have another connection to gevurah, and we're looking at it as at the letters. that Mem Mem Nun of Mincha also stand for Mansapach, the final letters. By the way, we had elsewhere, I'm almost sure we learned in this book, that the regular letter, let's say, for example, the Nun, I think it could be we're talking about the final Nun then, that a regular Nun, the bottom is bent, and that shows that the divine flow stops there and doesn't fall into Klipa, doesn't get diverted to Klipa. But the final Nun is just a straight line. It shows it extends past the bottom, and then it's available for Klipa. I'm nearly sure that we learned that, which would be the opposite of what it says here, but okay. Different ways of looking at it. So the next letter of Mincha is the letter Ches. Ches stands for Chutma. Chutma in Aramaic means nostril, the nose. Ches also stands for Charon Af, which literally means flared nostrils. But it's always used, a common euphemism for anger. No one says flared nostrils. When you see Charon Af, it automatically means anger. So the other one is just the literal translation. Flared nostrils, the literal translation. How do we dissipate judgments that are accompanied by anger or symbolized by anger? We do this by presenting their holy side. In this case, the nostril and the sense of smell, replacing charon af, anger, with chutma, nostril. What this does is, we said, I'm using the word sweeten. Over here, they use a different word. The Arizal, or uses, or the author here, Chaim Patal, uses a different word. Busma. Busma means that there's a sweet smell to it, an aromatic. It's good. That a nice aroma. And but I chose the word that we're more comfortable, that we're more familiar with, which is sweetened, to sweeten the judgments. It's one thing. One moment. And yeah, we're going to dissipate the judgment or change the judgment into holiness. So I guess it's like, trying to think of a good example. It's like you say, look where you come from. You know, this, you shouldn't be doing this. This is beneath you, or this is not who you really are. Look at your parents, look at your grandparents. You shouldn't be involved in such things. So here too, we say to the dinim, the judgments, we say, look at this holy side that you come from. There's such holiness in judgment too, in Kavura. And that's how we sweeten them. Actually, another way that we do this is in the morning davening. The morning davening after Baruch Hu, when it comes time before Shema, we talk about the angels. We say really nice things about them. We say, Kulam Huvim, they're all beloved. Kulam Gibayrim, they're almighty. I missed one. Berurim, they're all chosen and pure. They're almighty. Kulam Kadashim, they're all holy. And they all serve God with love, with deference and with love. They serve God. So why do we speak about the angels? Because Klipa comes, it says, from the waste products of the angels, from the exeja of the angels. So we tell the Klipa, this is your source. Look at your source. You know, is this really where you belong? So it's the same idea over here, and we're going to speak about it here. Now this is a long, I kept it pretty short. A moment. Okay. Yes, this explanation goes into much greater detail. But what I posted here for 7 is just the basic idea. Gershon, you ready? 1185, and I'll stop you in the middle.
It's also known.
For 1183. We're not skipping that?
No, sorry.
For 1183.
It is also known.
Yes.
It is also known that all 5 states of judgment return upward to gather into the nose of Zer Anpin, which is the source of all states of judgment and also the site where they are perfumed, as has been explained with reference to the verse, "An undefiled man will gather up the ashes of the cow." The idiom for anger in the Bible, in the biblical Hebrew, is what is it? Exactly, Haron Af, the flame of the nose. The emotion of anger, which is a manifestation of Gebura, judgment, is often accompanied by a deep breath and a widening of the nostrils. On the other hand, the nose is also the site of the sense of smell, which is considered the most spiritual of the 5 senses, and the one that can mostly easily transport us to transcendent states of consciousness. This is why on Yom Kippur, when we are otherwise forbidden to partake of sensual pleasures, we are nonetheless allowed to smell fragrant scents. In general, one way that unrectified phenomena can be rectified is by returning them to their source. When a particular phenomenon is viewed and reviewed in the context of its original intent, that very process cleanses it of any admixture of improper derivative manifestations that might have occurred in the process of applying the original intent to a lower level of reality. What the? No, I mean.
Okay. What does it mean? It means the first part says that the nose has 2 things, 2 illusions. 1, the nose is for anger, and 2, the nose is for the sense of smell. Where am I? I got lost a little. Okay, so 1 is anger, 1 is sense of smell. The sense of smell, he says, is the most spiritual of the 5. And this is why Yom Kippur, when we are forbidden to do physical, like to eat and so on, but we don't forbid the sense of smell. We don't say you can't bring in smelling salts or flowers and stuff. So because it's very spiritual. It's an alignment with the idea of Yom Kippur. Whereas eating does not conform to the idea of Yom Kippur, to the themes of Yom Kippur. That's one thing we said. The second thing we said is that, you sweeten the klipa or the judgment by showing its source, by confronting it with its source, or returning it to its source, confronting it with the source. And that's what it says over here. And we're gonna explain in a minute, okay? Derivative manifestations, improper admixture of improper derivative manifestations, okay? How many syllables, those 4 words? So we'll see what that is in a minute. 8. When the Torah tells about the process of the red cow to purify someone who has been in contact with a dead body, it says a pure man, someone who is not tameh, a person who is tahar, shall gather the ashes of the cow. This is understood to mean Zer Anpin should inhale, absorb, and sweeten the judgment. So the pure man is Zer Anpin, and the ashes are the judgments. It says he shall gather the ashes. It's like we talked about the sense of smell. It's like inhaling the ashes or absorbing and sweetening. So this would mean a pure man shall gather the ashes of the cow is we read into that Zer Anpin should inhale, absorb, and sweeten the judgments. Now, the color red obviously is Gevura, Mars, so on. A cow is the animal soul that eschews holiness. Gesundheit. The word, that's the red cow. The word for cow, par, the male cow, bull, is 80 plus 200 is 280. The same as the sum of the 5 final letters, man sapach. Mem 40 plus 50 plus 90 plus 80 plus 20 is also 280, which we said before is gvura. So the cow is 280, man sapach, the 5 final letters are 280, they're gvura. A cow is gvura, and everyone lives happily ever after, yes? Say that again.
Don't have a cow.
So you see how everything fits and everything matches? You know why? Especially regarding the cow? Because it's all by bovine providence.
It's interesting that that when you sin and you bring carbon out, that what it does is it creates an aroma that's also pleasant, that's also sweetened to Hashem. And in a way, it's there's a similarity between when you get a state of judgment that becomes perfumed, which is also a form of sweetening.
Excellent. I love that. That's the smell that comes up. You just reminded me, Jim, a few weeks ago, I was meeting with someone. This person works hard on avoda, and we call serving Hashem, and very spiritual. And they had a very sincere, extremely sincere person, and they had a review at work that was very good. And I guess that the boss maybe is the type of person that just can't leave a good review as good. You have to have some recommendation for improvement. So they've included some recommendation for improvement. And the person took it very upset. I guess it was more like I wasn't there. I don't know. But they took it that it was just they have to write some recommendations, so they pick something, and even though it wasn't really fair to the person. This is the person's feeling. They were really upset. And I don't think it was that much of a harsh recommendation. I think it was just something minor, but the person didn't feel it was fair and was very upset. And in fact, a few days later, went back to the boss and to talk about it, and calmly. And they had a conversation, and the person made the boss aware. I only know what the person says to me. Made the boss aware of certain things that other parts of the situation, not part of the situation, part of their things within their life and how they deal with their work, and it made the boss see a whole different side, and the boss came out, I think, with a counter offer, with something that not just a recommendation, maybe some kind of bonus or something. Could have been some kind of bonus or something, and the boss from this had like a very different outlook and perception of this person. Was very impressed with what they heard and didn't know about before, and so they were, and so the person was saying how upset they were. And like I said, it's a very spiritual person, very sensitive person. At the beginning, they were very upset. Then they decided to talk about it to the boss, and it actually really turned around to a positive. And what the person said was, I guess it's a good thing that was included in my review, because I came out better than I was before. Hold on.
Bringing it back to the source, reviewing it.
I think no, Mike only works directly. I didn't think of it that way. It could be you're right. What I was thinking of is how you sweeten the judgment.
Mm.
And what Jim said about the smoke that's going up,
Mhm.
and that's now it's a reach nicholach, Hashem says, a sweet smell, or a savory smell.
Mhm.
Remind me to look up the word savory. A savory smell, savory. In Chicago we say savory. In Argentina we say savory. A savory judgment, a smell, aroma. I'm sorry, savory aroma that rises up, and that's the
Mhm.
sweetness that comes from the judgment of the animal. So when you said that, that reminded me of the story that I heard,
Mm.
and I'm gonna say most of us go through this kind of thing, whether the negative review is from our boss, whether it's from our spouse, whether from our kids, from other people, and it could be anything, anywhere. It could be someone you do business with.
Mhm.
You get that. You get that knockdown, and that pushback, that knockdown, and it really takes a special character to turn it around, to find positive in it. Even when you find positive, you still say, well, I'm still upset with them for doing it to me. And I know, I often do that. I often feel like that. But to be able to actually to sweeten it, to see
Mm.
to see it in a positive light, unless there's like a clear sign, you missed the accident or something like that, something like serious. But or you have some minor health issue or a car accident, you go just to be checked out, and they find that you're in the early stages of XYZ, right? And then they're able to deal with it. They wouldn't have found it otherwise. Okay, so once in a while you see the positive, you see it, you're able to see very clearly. Most of the time, all these things that happen, and getting stuck in traffic and the other more serious stuff, very difficult, especially when it's our ego that's involved. Very difficult to see it in a positive light.
Mm.
I'll open the floor. Anyone else want to share?
Index says,
No, I got this whole panoply of imagery that's unfolding in my mind regarding the cow. Why the special status with the bovine? I want to hear.
So here's the bovine.
No, it just goes back. When I was in Egypt, spent a little time learning about Egyptology, and there was in the 26 dynasties of pharaohs, there was one pharaoh who was a woman, and her name was Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut, and Hatshepsut, who dressed just like a pharaoh but was a female, had a icon, and the icon was the Hathor, which was the god of fertility.
Mhm.
And it just seems like what you had mentioned earlier about bovine having the zerampin is that it seems like there's a dichotomy throughout history when it comes to bovine, right? Because it starts with Hatshepsut, who was in it of herself an oxymoron, because she was the only woman to be a pharaoh. Bnei Israel leave Egypt. They go to Har Sinai. They're given the Torah. The first sin they conduct is the Egel HaZahav, which is not by chance. I mean, I've always said, why wasn't it an eagle or an ostrich or a fish? Just so happened it's a bovine. And there's nothing ever by
The
chance.
Rebbe talks about why.
There's nothing ever by chance. And Yosef was now, his name was Tor. He was known as the ox. Yes,
Ox.
the ox. Tor, ox, bull makes another bovine. Same thing. So I'm just thinking this all through. There's really no answer or remark other than the fact that it seems that it is indicative of, again, this, what we've talked about for the last several years, a Strom and a Strang, yin and the yang, that we all have to go through, which is driven by the evil inclination, this battle constantly. So there's always, and it's also the one thing that is the sin. It's the one thing that relieves the sin is called the red heifer, right? Again, not by accident that it's a bovine. The one thing that even King Shlomo said he couldn't figure out. Why is it that those who are clean become unclean by administering the red heifer, right? The eternal question. So I think it just goes back to the whole process of creation and why we're here. So that's all I have to say. And there ain't no such thing as coincidence.
Continue reading.
Difficult to follow.
There is something else. Avigail, you started to say something about what the Rebbe says.
Rebbe talks about why it was why the golden calf was a calf, and he said it relates to the Taurus and what was going on with the Egyptians. It's in one of the Maimarim from the Hasidic Heritage series. I think it's in the one called Knowledge versus Faith.
Yeah. So thank
I
you.
could find it.
The Jewish people went out on the 15th of Nisan, and that's the beginning of Taurus. Is Taurus the first sign? So they worship the bull and the zodiac and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Aries. Yes. What's Aries?
Aries
they
is
thought-
the ram.
So
Taurus is the bull that follows the ram.
I think
okay. So that's why they took the lamb for
Right.
Aries in order to, poke him in the eye. And then the next one, I think they were going to go to the bull, was on the way. And then they had, I forgot what, the bull, there was something with the bull that followed, but that was why the ram was. Yes, it was Aries. So leaving Egypt, just a second. So there are many constellations. I think there are about, there's about 85. That's why I'm saying this. Constellations. There are about 85 pretty common constellations. Of these, 12 are the zodiac. What's different about the zodiac? Now, imagine if we didn't have a calendar, January, February, and so on. Today's July 27th. So how do you know? They took the sky, the path of the sun, and divided it into, you have 360 degrees of the circle, the entire circle. One way to think of it is if there's like a big upside down bowl, a bowl placed upside down over the earth, and you look around, that's called a celestial sphere. So so if that goes all the way around, so then you can have a circle 360 degrees. You divide the 360 into 12, and that's 30. You have like basically one for each, more or less one for each day. So you have 30 degrees within each of these 12 things. So the zodiac, the 12 constellations of the zodiac are not just random, but they all exist within that circle. What's the circle called? The elliptic. Thank you. So well, or it could be what is rising on the horizon. I have a book. I just found it at home. I have a book like constellations in Torah. Actually, speaking of constellations, a few of them are mentioned in the Tanakh. Did I say this last week or in a different class? Pleiades, that's the 7 sisters. Canis Major, the Great Bear, which is also known as one of the Dippers, Big Dipper, and Orion, believe it or not. Orion, if you guys don't know, is when you go out in winter, he's very dominant in the sky. The 3 stars, and what are the 2? Yeah, the belt. What's his dog's name? Okay. So so Orion, Pleiades, Orion, and what did I say? And Canis Major are mentioned in Tanakh, in the book of Eov, and in the book of Amos. Some of them are mentioned once, some mentioned twice. So we have in the book of Amos also. So these are constellations mentioned in Tanakh, believe it or not. So so it's basically what it is. It's just dividing that arc into 12 equal sections of that circle, so that you're able to say where we are. So it could be that I'm not sure exactly, but it could be that it either corresponds to be opposite the sun. So like when the sun sets, what's rising at the same time? No, it depends on where you are. So the sun sets there, and then what rises here, and notice what's opposite the sun, that's what, and then that rises at the beginning of the night, that would be considered dominant. So so that is how they would tell, that's how they would tell what day in the calendar it was. So that they would know, let's say, for when to plant and so on, agriculture and other things. So this is the method that they used. Okay, now it's easy. We just say, but we actually think of it a little different. Right, today is July 27th. So in that circle that the sun goes around the earth, or the earth goes around the sun, however you want to look at it, it's relatively, anyways. We're always in that same point around the circle. On July 27th, every year, we're in that same point around the circle. July 26th, we're about 1 degree over. July 28th, we're 1 degree over on that plot or point, around the circle. Okay, and I know it's not a circle; it's an oval around that orbit. So, ellipse, yes, that's why it's called an elliptic. Did you get to reality? Okay, 8, 9. The sweetened states of Gvura. Did we do it? Oh no, okay. So I just explained about the other things, red color, and then the number 8. Go ahead, Gerson. The verse.
The verse quoted is part of the process of purification from death accomplished via the solution made out of the ashes of the red cow. The undefiled man is allegorically understood to be Zerampin, who gathers up, that means inhales, the scent of the ashes of the red cow. Red signifies Gebura. The cow is the paradigm of the animal soul, whose animal consciousness drives the human toward death, as it is written. Who knows that the spirit of man, the divine soul, is that which ascends, while the spirit of the animal soul is that which descends to the earth. Furthermore, the numerical value of the 5 letters that possess final forms, man, 45 plus even 90 plus 80 plus 20, 280, is the same that of the word for cow. 80 plus 200, 280. Thus, the red cow manifests the 5 states of Gebura. Should I continue?
Yeah.
The word for nose, Chutma, of course, begins with the letter Het. So this stage of the process of refining the 5 states of Gebura is alluded to by the 3rd letter of the word Mincha, which is Het. I wouldn't know.
We haven't done 9 yet, Chaim.
Okay, thanks. Now at 1184, the sweetened states of Gvura are then expressed in the mouth, perhaps through prayer. The mouth is represented by the letter Hey. For the 5 places in the mouth where sounds are produced: the throat, the palate, the tongue, the teeth, and the lips. And that is something that we find in Kabbalah and Hasidus.
Mhm.
You may remember it from Tanya. Hey is the last letter in the word mincha. So hey is for the 5 that now it gets expressed through the mouth. Okay, go ahead, 1184, Avigail.
Afterwards. 1184.
Abigail, if you can hear us, you have to unmute.
Sorry, I was late in grabbing my book. So, are we at afterwards? I know you just told me.
Yes.
1184, afterwards.
Afterwards, the perfumed states of judgment are drawn down into the mouth, which is alluded to by the letter Hey, as is known. This is the allusion of the letter Hey in the word mincha. So now, once the states of judgment have been rectified, they can be articulated in speech through the mouth and thereby be expressed in lower reality. The mouth comprises 5 exits through which speech issues: the lips, the tongue, the teeth, the throat, and the hard palate. This is why the letters of the alphabet are divided into the labials, the linguals, the dentals, the gutturals, and the palatals. 5 of the numerical value, 5 is the numerical value of the letter Hey. Hey thus represents the mouth. Furthermore, all sounds are variations of plain breath, which is the sound of the letter Hey. Thus, the 4 letters of the word mincha allude to the 5 states of judgment, their perfuming in the nose and their rectified expression through the mouth.
Thank you. Once again, the word perfuming just means that the judgments are sweetened.
Mhm.
So just like the prayer of mincha, the gift to Esav was meant to sweeten the judgments of Gvura.
Mhm.
Again, there are 310 worlds, of which 103 are aligned with Gvura, and 103 is the value of the word mincha. Okay, go ahead, Abigail. So now.
Okay, so now you know how the gift, mincha, to Esau signified the states of judgment on the side of Gevurah, which number 103, this being the numerical value of the word mincha. You already know that in the
Tio, so we're going to stop here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like one thought. I think the next thing goes, the rest of the chapter is a little bit different topic. Anyone have any comments? Rudy wants to know what do I mean in number 10? Just like the prayer of mincha, give to Esav and sweeten the judgment of Gvura. So we've said here that mincha is the time when the prayer that we say in the afternoon when we're headed for darkness. This is Gvura, and through mincha, it seems to me, we didn't say it explicitly, but I think the point is that we daven mincha in order to sweeten the Gvuras of the afternoon. And it's also related with Yitzchak. So Esav, this is about the presents, the gifts that Yaakov sent to Esav. There are several words when Esav confronted him on his way back to Israel. There are several words for gift. The Torah uses here the word mincha. But actually, usually you say matana. Matana like is like just the word in English. Gift comes from giving. So matana is from noten. Is that your name? Yes. Not matana is from natan. That's something that's given. But the word mincha means more like a tribute. Mincha is what you give to the head honcho, to the chief, to the boss. Yes, etymologically they are not related. But mincha, yes, but mincha means usually a tribute. That's different spelling. A tribute. But mincha also means like menucha, resting. It's a stretch. But basically mincha is a tribute. So Yaakov sent the tribute to Esav. He was doing the same. Doesn't say explicitly. Apparently, he was doing the same thing that we do with mincha. He was sweetening the judgments.
Mhm.
Yes, I think what Jacob was preparing for the arrival of his brother, correct, in a very defensive way. He's expecting judgment. So he sends the gift of the tribute to sweeten the judgment. Yeah. So he's sweetened the deal. He's trying to bribe him in a way, buy him his forgiveness.
For there, the Torah says that Yaakov was sending to Esav because he said, I'll calm him down, I'll appease him. And Rashi says Erzeh Fanav, and Rashi says it means to be, I think, to be appeased. It's the same word like we have in davening. We say Ritzei Hashem Elokeinu in the Shemona Esrei, that Hashem should be pleased with us. The last thing in the Haggadah, Nirtza, that Hashem's happy, he's satisfied with what we've done with our service. We mentioned before some of the numbers, and I heard a class a few months ago. I remember only one small piece. The Gemara says that the Har HaBayis, the site of the Beis Hamikdash, was referred to by Avraham. It was called Har. It was called the mountain. That's when he went with Yitzchak. He called it Har Yera'eh. It's called a mountain, and we don't follow that. We don't follow Yitzchak, who called it a field. We just read that Yitzchak went to daven in the field. And rather we follow Yaakov, who called it a bayit, a building. And I don't remember all the things, but they started off somehow with the number 103, and then they said 103, and then we were building the four walls of the Beis Hamikdash. So the Avraham called it a mountain, Har. It's 206. That would be twice 103. There would be two walls. Yitzchak called it a field, and the field Sadeh is 309. It's 103, 103, and 103. That would be like three walls, but it says it follows Yaakov, who called it a bayis, a house or a structure, a building, and bayit is 412. So amazing that the four walls. Amazing how the three expressions there in the Gemara are actually. This thing of the Gemara is from Pesachim. It's a famous Gemara in Pesachim. What I heard there's Herzl. Herzl showed me a guy in Israel who comes up with, I guess, an hour and a half, 2-hour lecture every week, and it's a chant. He brings in so many different ingredients, so many different things. Everything is woven together perfectly. Yeah. I'll look for it. Yes, all in Hebrew. All in Hebrew. And I guess he has 600 people, 800 people that he does. But Herzl says he probably prepares a whole week on this lecture, and he weaves everything together. He ties. I was sitting listening for about 20 minutes. It's like Yossi Jacobson. It's a Yossi Jacobson type thing. That's the only way I could describe it. Why, Rabbi Jacobson. Okay.
Thank
Great
you.
guys. We'll continue. Thanks
Thank-
all. Have a great week. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.